Hey, Kafka here. If you didn't see the live stream, you can actually get me for free in patch 4.0, along with tons of other goodies like a whole load of pulls and a free Rome outfit. But in this video, I'll go over the upcoming free 5-star character selector and who I recommend choosing going into 4.0. Let me know who you'll be choosing down below, and let's begin. The free 5 stars in the selector will be Jing Yuan, Kafka, Dan Heng Imbibe to Lune, Jingliu, Sparkle, Acheron, and Aventurine. 4 1.x units and 3 2.x units, including the anniversary duo of Acheron and Aventurine. First off, just like with any recommendation on stuff like this, choose your favorite above all else. Yes, the game has power creep, yes, all the DPS here are struggling, but if you're a big fan of them, go ahead, just know their limits. Likewise, if you want to fill out your collection of units, grab that elusive 5-star you've wanted to have for a while now. But now, speaking meta value. To new players or old players, I would not recommend Jing Yuan, Dil, or Jingliu. Jing Yuan was literally our second limited 5-star in HSR, and whilst he has an immaculate aura and an amazing voice actor, his power is not comparable to our recent new DPS. He can still clear, I've seen it for myself, and sometimes at pretty low investment, but it'll take a struggle that a lot of players don't want to deal with. Dil likewise struggles, and with the new Sparkle buffs he should definitely see a boost in power, but even so his potential won't increase that much due to his kit itself being weak and in need of its own Nova Flare. Not only that, but without his E2 he will suffer even more so, and so an E0 Dil as a baseline pickup will be pretty weak. And finally, Jingliu did get a Nova Flare and can clear decently with the full HP team, but the problem is that it's more of a wheelchair for our old granny instead of her shining. If you want way more raw strength with the same supportive units, you'd rather pull Evernight, who's coming back in 4.0. Now, a step up in my recommendation priority would be Acheron, who on average is clearing much better than these gamers, naturally due to being released around a year later. She's also benefited from newer supports like Cypher, as well as the other new Harmony gamers that the others could also use. And since she's doing okay at E0, getting her E2 from the Selector if you're stuck at E1 is also a fine choice. It's not as impactful as it used to be, but it is still more ults even if you don't make use of the fact that you can remove a Nihility unit from the team. She is still an older DPS though, and so picking her over a generalist sustain like Aventurine, the brand new buffed Sparkle, or Kafka, the character you want for Dot, doesn't seem like the craziest choice. So up next with a bit more priority, especially if not at E1 Acheron, we have Aventurine. He still works fine as a sustain, so if you're lacking one for a second or third team, he's not bad at all. The first major problem is we got Dan Heng PT for free, who is more powerful and more universal than him whilst also being comfier. But again, Dan can only go in one team, and so new players could grab a free Aventurine whilst pulling for major new DPS releases instead. The second problem is we are probably getting a crazy new sustain in 4.x to follow the brand new Elation meta, and if Hyacinth is anything to go by, they're going to be much needed for said meta whilst also being powerful outside of it. Now if you don't care for Elation, then I'm sure he'll work just fine for any other DPS that come out though. And so then my highest priority pickups would be Kafka and Sparkle. Kafka is only if you want to specifically play Dot. She is mandatory for Dot as the premier detonation unit. She does it on skills, on follow-ups, on ults, and she also amps the team decently with a large attack buff in her passives, as well as some nice starting Eidolons. Don't pick her just because she's high priority here, she's specifically insane for the Dot archetype and should not be picked otherwise if speaking meta value. So with the awesome recently released High Ceilings or the brand new buffed Black Swan who is rerunning, grabbing a Kafka for free can make them immediately available to pop off. And now we don't have to worry about having to pull a Kafka to finally be able to play a Dot carry. I wouldn't pick anyone else if you want to play either or both of these two units. The only other choice, and our best one, is Sparkle, and it's crazy to say after everything that has happened. Even pre-buff, picking a Harmony unit like her would have still been a decent choice among these units, but with the buff, there shouldn't really be a choice unless again you need that Kafka for Dot, or you really want someone else like E2 Acheron. Even new players that lack a sustain, I'd rather just use that free Dan, use Gallagher for now on another team until a premium healer, and pick Sparkle. Her buffs weren't fully revealed, but she's going to be much stronger, and it is our first Harmony getting a Nova Flare, so expect greatness. Now with Archer being free if you played during the Fate collab, Dan PT being free if you played very recently, and now Sparkle being free, you have an extraordinarily strong and completely free team that can blitz the side of MOC or Apex Shadow and even smack Anomaly Arbitration sides. It is pretty crazy that this team core was free these past few patches. So you have the best in-slot support for Archer, a top-tier DPS, but then Sparxie was shown to heavily rely on SP, and so Sparkle seems like she will be an amazing pickup for the start of 4.x with Sparky as your DPS. And she is likely another top DPS, and so another top-tier pick that Sparkle works perfectly for, even if Yao Guang looks to be more necessary. It's a no-brainer if you care for meta, but you might have already got her. In that case, what about Eidolons? If you already picked up Kafka for High Silence's release, well, it's not like this free Kafka would hurt that much when her E1 is a pretty potent vulnerability debuff that is easily applicable to the entire enemy side. Picking this up can elevate your team's potential a little extra. Acheron E2 would be lower priority due to its impact weakening over time with better nihility supports, but it is the best DPS Eidolon to get out of these characters, and since she is still a fine DPS at E0, it could be worth it if you want to see more usage out of your favorite character. For any other Eidolons, I wouldn't pick up Kafka E2 unless you really don't want Sparkle, as its power is pretty minimal in the grand scheme of things, and a whole new support or even sustain if you need Aventurine would be much more beneficial to your account. I guess Aventurine E1 could be okay to help with his sustain falling off with time, and newer characters that synergize less with his kit. Since Sparkle Eidolons will change with her Nova player, I can't talk about how impactful they are or what they will do, but since they'll boost your supportive power regardless, they are always going to be fine pickups and top priority here if going for Eidolons. Going to E1 or E2 is only going to result in an even better team performance, whereas anyone else here might not affect your account at all depending on your roster. I will talk about how good they are in her guide coming soon, and it'll be before release, so if you really want to wait and see for the Selector choice, I'll catch you in that video. Anyways, let me know below who you end up picking. I'll probably pick up a Sparkle Eidolon myself. Thanks to my amazing YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a Guoba day.